The most interesting ballroom dance workshop I ever attended was at the Blackpool Congress in England with Bill Irvine. And he covered the history of the connection and the frame in ballroom dance and how it has evolved over the last century. And so I thought you might find that to be kind of interesting too. So I'm going to share that with you today. So we didn't always dance with this close connection, but there's kind of an etymology coming out of the court dances and the country dances. And I'm going to hone in on England. Obviously, a wide variety of cultures have influenced ballroom dance as we know it today. So the country dances were done kind of all over the country. Anyone could do them. The court dances, though, were only done by the nobility, by the wealthy, because they required training. There was intricate choreography. And it was not like ballroom dance today that we can do lead and follow in any of those fancy figures you can see on the comp floor. Honestly, a pro couple can usually lead and follow it. So they were kind of pre-choreographed. And interestingly, this is when professional dance teacher actually became a job because so much training was required. People could do it for work like I do. Yay! So anyway, originally these dances lacked that full body connection that we see today in ballroom dance. So we had like slow dances like the pavane, where you would essentially walk mostly in shadow position or facing each other and only holding a hand, at most two hands. That was the extent of the connection, and it was a slow moving dance. So even though it was not 3-4 time music, it reminds me of like an incredibly slow waltz, but very far apart. Okay. And they also did have faster dances too, like the galliard, where there was connection, but it was just one hand, two hands max. And those were really fast steps, and usually just facing the partner, occasionally side by side in shadow. And that dance, you almost mimic the partner, like he does something fancy, she does something fancy back, and vice versa. But these are both, all these court dances are very intricate, and you must do them a specific way with these specific steps in this specific order. So in the 1900s, at the start of the century, the closeness evolved quite a bit. So we went from this far apart to pretty darn close. Not fully pressed up like we are today, but definitely closer. And so to give you a little picture of the difference between these two, firstly, let me show you a picture here of court dancing. I'll be right back. So as you can see, the lady is on the right arm like she would be today. They are dancing somewhat in a promenade position going the same way. However, they are not connected, just connected with one hand. Next up, I'm going to show you the kind of ballroom frame from the early 1900s. So it's like first 10 years. And you'll see they're a heck of a lot closer and a little, definitely more intimate up front, but still, and we just have the heads in. So quite similar to an Argentine tango, but not touching up top. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, and as you can see, when we first started connecting a little closer with the partner, the arms dropped. So in those first dances, the arms were quite high. And then when we first got a little bit closer, the arms dropped almost completely to darn near like 30 degrees off the floor. Now, over the course of the century, the arms have gotten higher and higher and higher. The shoulders have always been dropped. They have never been up at any point for ballroom dancing. But the arms started out front and out to the side. Then they dropped down. And as I'm going to show in the upcoming videos here, the arms just get higher and higher and higher and higher. Okay. And the connections get a little closer. Okay. So now we're looking at the 1910s. And this will also be a promenade position. You will see we are a little bit closer, might even be touching a little bit up here, snuggly, snuggly. So let me show you dancing from the 1910s. I'll be right back. Now we head into the 1920s, and we have somewhat of a cultural revolution, particularly for women and freedom of expression and clothing. So that closeness now is really fully socially embraced at all levels of society. And so at this point, we actually do get a full body connection for the first time. The lead, though, how unlike today, where we carry her in front, he not only has her to the side, he almost has her on his side with his elbow back. So it's a very different connection. So obviously you're not going to get the flight that we do this day and age, but the frame over time more and more and more resembles current dancing. The heads are still into the partner, though. So a bit of an Argentine head styling. So we're not going to get that leftward posture till starting about 10 years after that. So let me show you a little snapshot from the 1920s. So getting cuddly. As you can see, there is a full connection in the upper torso, an extremely off and on light connection in the hip, and pretty much no connection in the knee. And the elbows, although they're no longer 30 degrees, I will say they're about 45, so inching their way up to where we see them today. Okay, next up, we are heading into the 30s, and as you might know, Blackpool kicked up in 1931. So this is when we start to see that same old competition we do today. And I would say this is when the frame really starts to more closely represent what you would envision as that full body connection. It is going to be different, as you'll see by this photo. And I'm going to show you Timothy Palmer and Ella Spowart. They're the 1932, and actually I believe they won like 4 or 5 years, Blackpool. So these are, they won the second year of Blackpool, and I believe several years after that. So these are world champions you're going to see in this next photo. And you'll notice the elbows are not quite parallel with the floor, but they're darn close, okay? And the head positions are just slightly starting to get offset. Certainly not like we would see them today, but they are no longer insular and looking at each other. And actually, even before they looked at each other, they actually looked across. So now you're going to start to see a slight offset. You will also see that his carriage is more forward in the right arm than to the side or to the back. So this is definitely, in my opinion, an improvement with the connection and lead and follow, and you can also get better flight this way. So here we go. We're going to look at 1932 World Ballroom Champions, Timothy and Ella. Here you go. Okay, so as you saw, the frame is quite upright, but it's no longer insular into the partner, a little bit offset. Elbows are almost parallel with the floor. Certainly this day and age, especially for lady, they're even higher. If you were to see from the back, ladies, in all of these photos, in the 1910s, the arms would be out and almost straight, and the lady from the back would be drooped. And over time, and you're going to see in these future decades, the elbows are going to get higher and higher and higher for the follow. Okay, guys, once again, I'm hitting that 10-minute mark, and I hate to rush through this subject because I just think it's so fascinating, and I'm trying to cram over 100 years of information in a tiny little YouTube video. So I'm going to do a follow-up on this because I just love this stuff, and we're going to see how it evolved from the 30s on. And I will see you soon. I'm probably not going to do a follow-up video tomorrow on this, but rest assured, I'm going to be back, and we're going to walk you through what that frame looks like today and where it came from. So I hope you found that to be as interesting as I did when I first heard about it, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Hey, if you like all things ballroom dance, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button. I hope you have a wonderful, happy day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.